The importance of studying about this topic in a public health perspective. Okay. The improper disposal of wastewater plays a crucial role in contamination of surface water, groundwater, and the soil. So this poses a major public health problem. So this is more like a non-renewable resource. We only have a very limited supply of all water and everything. So river, ocean, all the water bodies, we have a limited supply, and once it is polluted, it's very difficult to get back the quality of water, and it's literally becomes useless. You can't use for drinking or domestic purpose or anything. So once it is like severely polluted, it becomes useless, and on top of it, it becomes a public health problem. Okay. So why why you should manage this properly? So it starts at the individual level. The sewage and sullage management all starts in an individual level, and at a family level, and community level. So likewise it goes. And if you take the commercial aspect, you have lots and lots of factories, industries. So they produce the sullage in mass scale. So these are like potential threat for mass contamination of water body. Okay. So it should be properly treated, then only you can prevent the disease to a certain extent which is caused by pollution. Okay. So thereby you can preserve the environment. So various countries have many laws and enforcement for protecting their environment. Some countries enforce it. Some countries have laws in paper. Not only they have in paper, there are like laws, acts and amendments, everything. Even though the acts are this thing, the method in which they implement, the implementation part also plays a huge role in management of sewage and sullage. For instance, if you see the countries like country continent like Australia or something, they have very strict policy in preserving their water resource. So they do not even allow swimming, or this thing is not at all allowed in river, like designated river, at least which passes through the civilization or city or something. Nobody is entered allowed to access the river. So they go to till up to this extreme steps to conserve their water resource. So naturally, once if the people are prevented to access the water, but then it has its own. They channelize it properly, whether producing for hydro power or something. They channelize properly, and they maintain the cleanliness and this environment in a such a way that the generations which come by can enjoy the fruit of clean water. So, for instance, we have very the laws. When you talk in terms of laws, we have very strict laws, and on paper, the laws are there to protect the environment. So that and all, there is there even Indian this thing laws, the Pollution Control Act, and everything is there. But the way it is being enforced or implemented, so that is quite different from each and every country, or it to an extent it varies from one state to another. So we'll move to the definition of sewage and sullage. What is the major crucial difference between sewage and sullage? To put it in a simple manner, sewage is contamination by excreta. Sullage is not contaminated by excreta. Fundamental point, differentiating point between sewage and sullage is this. So sewage is defined as the wastewater from a community containing solid and liquid excreta derived from houses, streets, yard washing, factories, and industries. The term sullage is applied to wastewater which does not contain excreta. For instance, for example, you can take the wastewater after washing utensils, clothes, or once the water which you use for bathing, cleaning purpose, all those things are sullage. Okay, so this is the fundamental difference between sewage and sullage. So the definition of is also important in a exams perspective. Question, it can be asked as a two more question. Rarely it can be asked. The sewage and sullage is asked as a short. Coming to the characteristics of wastewater. So there are various characteristics of wastewater pertaining to temperature, odor, color, so gas formation, everything. The temperature change in wastewater usually have affect the settling rates and dissolving oxygen level, and it has varied biological action. So ideally, how water should be ideal? I mean, potable water. Potable water is something which is safe for consumption, for human consumption. Okay, so ideally, the potable water will not have any taste, odor, color, smell, or anything. But the wastewater will have some odor. Okay, and the bubbling gas and foul odor indicate industrial waste and lot of anaerobic contents. Okay, so moving on to color. The color of the waste containing dissolving oxygen is normally gray, and the black colored waste is usually accompanied by very foul odor. Okay. More than 99% of the sewage is organic content, and 0.1 percentage you have inorganic solid. 1 gram of feces may contain 1000 million thousand, 1 gram of feces contain 1000 million fecal streptococci. Sewage contains so many different substances, both suspended and dissolved, which is impractical to attempt. So, if you go on to identifying that what are the all list of contents in sewage, it's actually unpleasant to do that. And another thing is that you have like umpty number of parameters. So, to simplify it, so we have certain one criteria called biochemical oxygen demand. With that, you have an estimate of the what is the organic content and etc. The total amount of organic material related to the strength of the sewage can be measured by biochemical oxygen demand. How do you define biochemical oxygen demand? It is defined as the amount of oxygen absorbed by a sample of sewage using specified period, generally 5 days, at a particular temperature by the living organism. So, how much of oxygen is absorbed by this particular duration at a given temperature? So, that will be your BOD. Okay. And we have pollution control act, so by which there is a certain guidelines for before you leave the water to the water body, it should be treated well and then filtered and everything, and then only it should be this thing. So the government takes it up in hands, like they can come for previous inspection, various inspection, and they can impose fine, or if the severity of the issue is this thing, they even have the authority to close the factory or industry if it poses a very humongous public health concern or something like that. So this Pollution Control Act has like more like a check and balance for our environment conservation and wastewater management. So when this sewage and sullage is asked as a short note or a 2 mark question, ideally you should write the definition of sewage and sullage, characteristics of sewage, and BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, all those points, and then you can touch upon the Pollution Control Act. Two or three major points in Pollution Control Act, that will be sufficient for short note. This is not as such. This cannot be asked as an essay. So max to max, you will have it only as a short answer.